Hello everyone, this is Srinivas from Informatica GCS, and my today's topic is Metadata Manager content creation. The version of services is Metadata Manager 10.0. When you create a Metadata Manager service, you have to create some contents on the database schema on which the Metadata Manager service is configured. This contents created would store the various metadata which we read from the various data sources. This metadata which is stored in this database schema would be further used by the UI for impact analysis and lineage graph rendering. So, to create the metadata manager service contents, there are two ways in 10.0. One is creating the metadata manager contents from the admin console UI. The second would be to create the contents from the mmrepocmd utility. Let's discuss creating the contents from the admin console UI. Metadata Manager service provides you an option to create contents from the admin console UI. Log in into the admin console, click on the Metadata Manager service. You can see the Metadata Manager service is showing an option that the repository has no content. Create the repository contents and then enable the service. You have to create the repository contents and then enable the service. Now click on Actions, click on Repository Contents, Create. You will find an option. If you want to restore the Power Center repository for the Metadata Manager, you can uncheck the details, click on OK. We can see that the action has been started. Now Metadata Manager service would have some pre-built SQL scripts in the installer files, which it would fire on the database on which the MM service is configured. After the contents are created, the message with the repository has no contents, create the repository contents and enable the service. This message will go away. Then you can click on the enable icon and enable the service. You can also click on last activity log. This last activity log would show you the contents or the log messages when the content creation script is fired. Any errors which occur during creation of contents can be debugged by viewing this last activity log. Now let's go to the second point, mmrepocmd utility. You can also create the metadata manager service contents using a backend utility. For this, before creating the content, rather than creating the contents from the MMUI, you can directly enable the service. Once the service is enabled, you can see the message would still appear because you have enabled the service without creating the contents for the metadata manager service. Now, log on to the machine where the Informatica services are configured and then run the mmrepocmd utility with the create repository option and then create the service. So let's log on into the Informatica into the machine where Informatica services are configured. So the location of the utility would be Infa Home, Services, Metadata Manager Service, Utilities, mmrepocmd. Run the bat file for mmrepocmd. So running it without any options would give you incomplete details on what options to what are the various options and what are the various parameters to be passed. For Windows, the application would be a bat file. For Unix, you can see a shell script. So for creating a repository, select mmrepocmd create repository. As you can see in the screen, provide the various options like domain name, the gateway host and port, the service name, the URL, the user, the encrypted password or the normal password, the namespace and the key tab. Providing these details Metadata Manager service would connect to this particular URL, would get the database information from this particular service, and then create the contents on that particular database schema. One thing to be noted here, the Metadata Manager service should be up and running for the contents to be created. Using mmrepocmd utility, you can also perform various steps like backing up the repository, restoring the repository, deleting the contents. That is, for deleting the contents, you can use delete repository option, and then you can also do an upgrade repository. Now you can see the contents have been created, and right now the Metadata Manager service is in disabled mode. To view the from the MMUI, you also get an option to delete the contents and also to upgrade the contents. The upgrading contents would come into picture when you have upgraded the service from a lower version to a higher version, but the underlying contents have not been upgraded. For example, right now you have upgraded your service from 961 HF3 to 10.0. This after installing the installer and upgrading the service from the UI, the Metadata Manager service and the various binaries would be upgraded to 10.0, but the underlying tables structure would be still compatible for 963. So before you enable the service in those scenarios, click on Actions, Repository Contents, click on Upgrade, and the MM service would be upgraded. And also regarding the logs, as we have discussed, you can click on this last activity log. You can see the logs for the create contents. So the create content, the scripts which would be fired for create contents would be present in the Metadata Manager file location, but it is a suggested it is a suggestion from Informatica GCS not to edit or alter any of the SQL script files, and also the recommended way to create the contents on the service is from the UI or the utility. I hope by now you would have a clear idea on creating the contents of Metadata Manager. For more details, you can check the installation and configuration guide. There are a set of prerequisites privileges on the database user, which will vary from various databases, for which the MM service can be configured. So you can refer the installation configuration guide to where you can find the list of privileges for every database type of database the user should possess to configure an MM service. You can also refer the help contents under the MM UI screen for details on syntax for running mmrepocmd. We would love to hear from you. If you like to drop in feedback on the video, or you need any other videos from Informatica, you can drop us a mail with your requirement. You can drop us a mail at supportvideos@informatica.com. We are also on Twitter. Please tweet us for anything. You can see our handler, which is InfaSupport. Thank you. Have a great day.